Sahih Muslim, the Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Sahih Muslim, the Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, "In paradise, there is a tree under the shadow of which a rider can travel for 100 years. Sahih Muslim 2826, a reference 53, Hadith 7. Sahih Muslim, the Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Abu Huraira through another chain of transmitters with the addition of these words, "He will not be able to cover this distance." Sahih Muslim 2826b, reference 53, Hadith 8. Sahih Muslim, the Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Sal b. Sa'd reported Allah's Messenger as saying, "In paradise, there is a tree under the shadow of which a rider can travel for 100 years without covering the distance completely." This hadith has also been transmitted on the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri that Allah's Apostle is reported to have said, "In paradise, there is a tree under the shadow of which a rider of a fine and swift-footed horse would travel for 100 years without covering the distance completely. There would be the pleasure of Allah for the inmates of paradise and he would never be annoyed with them." Sahih Muslim 2827. 2828, reference 53, Hadith 9. Sahih Muslim, the Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri reported that Allah's Apostle said that Allah would say to the inmates of paradise, "Shocked face, dwellers of paradise," and they would say in response, "At thy service and pleasure, our Lord, the good is in thy hand." He, the Lord, would say, "Are you well pleased now?" They would say, "Why should we not be pleased, O Lord, when thou hast given us what thou hast not given to any of thy creatures?" He would, however, say, "May I not give you something even more excellent than that?" And they would say, "O Lord, what thing can be more excellent than this?" And he would say, "I shall cause my pleasure to alight upon you and I shall never be afterwards annoyed with you." Sahih Muslim 2829, reference 53, Hadith 10. Sahih Muslim, the Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Sal b. Sa'd reported Allah's Messenger as saying, "The inmates of paradise will look to the upper apartment of paradise as you see the planets in the sky." I narrated this hadith to Nu'man b. Abi Ayyash and he said, "I heard Abu Sa'id al-Khudri as saying, as you see the shining planets in the eastern and western sides of horizon." Sahih Muslim 2830, 2831, a reference 53, Hadith 11. Sahih Muslim, the Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Abu Hazim through another chain of transmitters. Sahih Muslim 2830b, reference 53, Hadith 12. Sahih Muslim, the Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri reported Allah's Messenger as saying, "The inmates of paradise would see the inmates of the apartment over them just as you see the shining planets which remain in the eastern and the western horizon because of the superiority some have over others." They said, "Allah's Messenger, would in these abodes of apostles others besides them not be able to reach?" He said, "Yes, they will, by him, in whose hand is my life, those who believe in God and acknowledge the truth, will reach them." Sahih Muslim 2831b, reference 53, Hadith 13. Sahih Muslim, the Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, The people most loved by me from amongst my ummah would be those who would come after me, but everyone amongst them would have the keenest desire to catch a glimpse of me even at the cost of his family and wealth. Sahih Muslim 2832 Reference 53 Hadith 14. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Anas b. Malik reported that Allah's Messenger said, "In paradise there is a street to which they would come every Friday. The north wind will blow and would scatter fragrance on their faces and on their clothes and would add to their beauty and loveliness, and then they would go back to their family after having an added luster to their beauty and loveliness, and their family would say to them, 'By Allah, you have been increased in beauty and loveliness after leaving us,' and they would say, 'By Allah, you have also increased in beauty and loveliness after us.'" Sahih Muslim 2833 Reference 53 Hadith 15. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Muhammad peace be upon him reported that some persons stated with a sense of pride and some discussed whether there would be more men in paradise or more women. It was upon this that Abu Huraira reported that Abul Qasim, the Holy Prophet, said, "The members of the first group to get into paradise would have their faces as bright as full moon during the night, and the next to this group would have their faces as bright as the shining stars in the sky, and every person would have 2 wives and the marrow of their shanks would glimmer beneath the flesh, and there would be none without a wife in paradise." Sahih Muslim 2834 Reference 53 Hadith 16. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Abu Huraira through another chain of transmitters. Sahih Muslim 2834b Reference 53 Hadith 17. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Abu Huraira through another chain of transmitters that Allah's Messenger said, "The members of the first group which would get into paradise will have their faces as bright as stars in the sky. They would neither pass water, nor void excrement, nor will they suffer from catarrh, nor will they spit, and their combs would be made of gold, and their sweat will be musk. The fuel of their brazier will be aloes, and their wives will be large-eyed maidens, and their form would be alike as one single person after the form of their father, Adam, 60 cubits tall." Sahih Muslim 2834 see Reference 53 Hadith 18. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, "The first group of my ummah to get into paradise would be like a full moon in the night. Then those who would be next to them, they would be like the most significantly glittering stars in regard to brightness, then after them, others, in ranks. They would neither void excrement, nor pass water, nor suffer from catarrh, nor would they spit. And their combs would be made of gold, and the fuel of their braziers would be aloes, and their sweat would be musk, and their form would be the form of one single person according to the length of their father 60 cubits tall." This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Ibn Abi Shayba with a slight variation of wording. Sahih Muslim 2834d Reference 53 Hadith 19. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Hammam b. Munabi reported, "These are some of the ahadith which Abu Huraira reported from Allah's Messenger, and one is this, that he is reported to have said, 'The members of the first group that would be admitted to paradise would have their faces as bright as full moon during the night. They would neither spit nor suffer catarrh, nor void excrement. They would have their utensils and their combs made of gold and silver, and the fuel of their braziers would be aloes, and their sweat would be musk, and every one of them would have 2 spouses, so beautiful that the marrow of their shanks would be visible through the flesh. There would be no dissension amongst them and no enmity in their hearts. Their hearts would be like one heart, glorifying Allah morning and evening. Sahih Muslim 2834e reference 53 Hadith 20. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Habir reported, I heard Allah's apostle as saying that the inmates of paradise would eat and drink but would neither spit, nor pass water, nor void excrement, nor suffer katara. It was said, then, what would happen with food? Thereupon he said, they would belch and sweat, and it would be over with their food, and their sweat would be that of musk, and they would glorify and praise Allah as easily as you breathe. Sahih Muslim 2835 a reference 53 Hadith 21. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Amash with a slight variation of wording. Sahih Muslim 2835b reference 53 Hadith 22. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Habir b. Abdullah reported that Allah's Messenger said that the inmates of paradise would eat therein and they would also drink, but they would neither void excrement, nor suffer catarrh, nor pass water, and their eating would be digested in the form of belching, and their sweat would be musk-aged. They would glorify and praise Allah as easily as you breathe. Sahih Muslim 2835 c. reference 53 Hadith 23. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Habir with a slight variation of wording. Sahih Muslim 2835d reference 53 Hadith 24. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's apostle as saying, he who would get into paradise would be made to enjoy such an everlasting bliss that he would neither become destitute, nor would his clothes wear out, nor his youth would decline. Sahih Muslim 2836 reference 53 Hadith 25. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Abu Hurairah both reported Allah's Messenger as saying, there would be an announcer in paradise who would make this announcement, verily there is in store for you everlasting health, and that you should never fall ill, and that you live forever and do not die at all, and that you would remain young and never grow old, and that you would always live in affluent circumstances and never become destitute, as words of Allah, the Exalted and Glorious, are. And it would be announced to them, this is the paradise. You have been made to inherit it for what you used to do. 7:43. Sahih Muslim 2837 reference 53 Hadith 26. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Bakr b. Abdullah b. Qais reported on the authority of his father that Allah's Messenger said that in paradise there would be for a believer a tent of a single hollowed pearl, the breadth of which would be 60 miles. It would be meant for a believer, and the believers would go around it and none would be able to see the others. Sahih Muslim 2838 a reference 53 Hadith 27. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Bakr b. Abdullah b. Qais reported on the authority of his father that Allah's Messenger said that in paradise there would be a tent made of a single hollowed pearl, the breadth of which would be 60 miles from all sides, and there would live a family in each corner, and the other would not be able to see the believer who goes around them. Sahih Muslim 2838b reference 53 Hadith 28. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Abu Bakr b. Abu Musa b. Qais who, on the authority of his father, reported the apostle to have said that there would be a tent made of a pearl whose height towards the sky would be 60 miles. In each corner, there would be a family of the believer, out of sight for the others. Sahih Muslim 2838 see reference 53 Hadith 29. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's Messenger as saying, Sion, Jayan, Euphrates and Nile are all among the rivers of paradise. Sahih Muslim 2839 reference 53 Hadith 30. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's Messenger as saying, there would enter paradise people whose hearts would be like those of the hearts of birds. Sahih Muslim 2840 reference 53 Hadith 31. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's Messenger as saying, Allah, the Exalted and Glorious, created Adam in his image with his length of 60 cubits, and as he created him he told him to greet that group, and that was a party of angels sitting there, and listen to the response that they give him, for it would form his greeting and that of his offspring. He then went away and said, Peace be upon you. They, the angels, said, May there be peace upon you and the mercy of Allah, and they made an addition of mercy of Allah. So he who would get into paradise would get in the form of Adam, his length being 60 cubits. Then the people who followed him continued to diminish in size up to this day. Sahih Muslim 2841 reference 53 Hadith 32. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abdullah b. Mas'ud reported Allah's Messenger as saying, Hell would be brought on that day, the day of judgment, with 70,000 bridles, and 70,000 angels dragging each bridle. Sahih Muslim 2842 reference 53 Hadith 33. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's Apostle as saying, the fire which sons of Adam burn is only 1/70th part of the fire of hell. His companions said, By Allah, even ordinary fire would have been enough to burn people. Thereupon he said, It is 69 parts in excess of the heat of fire in this world, each of them being equivalent to their heat. Sahih Muslim 2843 reference 53 Hadith 34. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Ibn Hurairah through another chain of transmitters with a slight variation of wording. Sahih Muslim 2843b reference 53 Hadith 35. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported, We were in the company of Allah's Messenger that we heard a terrible sound. Thereupon Allah's Apostle said, Do you know what sound is this? We said, Allah and His Messenger know best. Thereupon he said, That is a stone which was thrown 70 years before in hell, and it has been constantly slipping down, and now it has reached its base. Sahih Muslim 2844 reference 53 Hadith 36. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Abu Hurairah with the same chain of transmitters, but with this change of wording, that the Prophet, may peace be upon him, said, It reached at its base and you heard its sound. Sahih Muslim 2844b reference 53 Hadith 37. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Samura b. Jundub reported Allah's apostle, may peace be upon him, as saying, there will be some to whose ankles the fire will reach, some to whose knees, some to whose waist the fire will reach, and some to whose collarbone the fire will reach. Sahih Muslim 2845 reference 53 Hadith 38. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Samura b. Jundub reported Allah's messenger as saying, there would be among them those to whom the fire will reach up to their ankles, and to some of them the fire would reach their knees, and to some it would reach their waists, and to some it would reach up to their collarbones. Sahih Muslim 2845b reference 53 Hadith 39. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of said with the same chain of transmitters but with a slight variation of wording. Sahih Muslim 2845 see reference 53 Hadith 40. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's messenger as saying, there was a dispute between the hell and the paradise, and the hell, said, the haughty and the proud would find abode in me. And the paradise said, the meek and the humble would find their abode in me. Thereupon Allah, the exalted and glorious, addressing the hell, said, you are the means of my punishment by which I punish those of my servants whom I wish. And addressing the paradise, he said, you are only my mercy by means of which one shall show mercy to those whom I wish, but each one of you would be full. Sahih Muslim 2846 reference 53 Hadith 41. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's messenger as saying, the hell and the paradise fell into dispute, and the hell said, I have been distinguished by the proud and the haughty. And the paradise said, what is the matter with me that the meek and the humble amongst people and the downtrodden and the simple enter me? Thereupon Allah said to the paradise, you are the means of my mercy whereby I show mercy to those of my servants whom one wish, and he said to the hell, you are the means of punishment whereby one punish those of my servants whom will wish. Both of you will be full. The hell will riot, be filled up until Allah puts down his foot in it. The hell would say, enough, 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 and at that time it will be filled up, all its parts integrated together. Sahih Muslim 2846b reference 53 Hadith 42. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's apostle as saying, the paradise and the hell disputed with each other. The rest of the hadith is the same. Sahih Muslim 2846 see reference 53 Hadith 43. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Hammam b. Munabi reported that Abu Hurairah narrated to them some ahadith of Allah's messenger, and one of them is this, that Allah's messenger said, the paradise and the hell fell into dispute, and the hell said, one have been distinguished for accommodating the haughty and proud in me. And the paradise said, what is the matter that the meek and the humble and the downtrodden and simple would find an abode in me? Thereupon Allah said to paradise, you are a means of my mercy. One shall show mercy through you to one whom I will from amongst my servants. And Lie said to the hell, you are a sign of my chastisement, and I shall chastise through you anyone whom I will from amongst my servants, and both of you would be full. And as regards the hell, it would not be full until Allah, the exalted and glorious, places his foot therein, and it would say, Enough, 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 and it would be then full, and the one part would draw very close to the other one, and Allah would not treat unjustly anyone. Sahih Muslim 2846d reference 53 Hadith 44. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants amongst his creation, and he would create another creation for the paradise, to accommodate it. Sahih Muslim 2846d reference 53 Hadith 44. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri reported that Allah's Messenger said, "The paradise and the hell disputed with each other." The rest of the hadith is the same as transmitted by Abu Huraira up to the words, "It is essential for me to fill up both of you." Sahih Muslim 2847 reference 53 Hadith 45. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Anas b. Malik reported that Allah's apostle said that the hell would continue to say, "Is there anything more?" until Allah, the exalted and high, would place his foot therein, and that would say, "Enough, enough, by your honor," and some parts of it would draw close to the other. Sahih Muslim 2848 reference 53 Hadith 46. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Anas through another chain of transmitters. Sahih Muslim 2848b reference 53 Hadith 47. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abd al-Wahhab b. Atta reported in connection with the words of Allah, the exalted and the glorious, "We would say to hell on the day of resurrection, have you been completely filled up?" And it would say, "Is there anything more?" And he stated on the authority of Anas b. Malik that Allah's apostle said, "The sinners would be thrown therein, and it would continue to say, 'Is there anything more?' until Allah, the exalted and glorious, would keep his foot therein, and some of its part would draw close to the other, and it would say, 'Enough, enough, by thy honor and by thy dignity,' and there would be enough space in paradise until Allah would create a new creation, and he would make them accommodate that spare place in paradise. Sahih Muslim 2848c reference 53 Hadith 48. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Anas reported Allah's apostle as saying, "There would be left some space in paradise as Allah would like that to be left. Then Allah would create another creation as he would like." Sahih Muslim 2848d reference 53 Hadith 49. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Sa'id reported Allah's Messenger as saying, "Death would be brought on the day of resurrection in the form of a white-colored ram." Abu Kurayb made this addition, "Then it would be made to stand between the paradise and the hell." So far as the rest of the hadith is concerned, there is perfect agreement between the two narrators, and it would be said to the inmates of paradise, "Do you recognize this?" They would raise up their necks and look towards it and say, "Yes, it is death." Then it would be said to the inmates of hellfire, "Do you recognize this?" And they would raise up their necks and look and say, "Yes, it is death." Then command would be given for slaughtering that, and then it would be said, "0 inmates of paradise, there is an everlasting life for you and no death." And then, addressing to the inmates of the hellfire, it would be said, "0 inmates of hellfire, there is an everlasting living for you and no death." Allah's Messenger, may peace be on him, then recited this verse pointing. Sahih Muslim 2849 reference 53 Hadith 50. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants with his hand to this material world. Warn them, this day of dismay, and when their affairs would be decided and they would be unmindful and they believe not. XX 39. Sahih Muslim 2849 Reference 53 Hadith 50. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Sa'id reported Allah's Messenger as saying, when the inmates of paradise would be admitted to paradise and the inmates of hell would be admitted to hell, it would be said, to the inmates of paradise, 0 inmates of paradise. The rest of the hadith is the same but with this variation, that he only said, that is the word of Allah, the Exalted. And he did not say, then Allah's Messenger recited, and he did not make a mention of his having pointed with his hand towards the material world. Sahih Muslim 2849b Reference 53 Hadith 51. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abdullah reported that Allah's Messenger said, Allah would admit the inmates of paradise into paradise and the inmates of hell into hell. Then the announcer would stand between them and say, 0 inmates of paradise, there is no death for you. 0 inmates of hell, there is no death for you. You would live forever therein. Sahih Muslim 2850 Reference 53 Hadith 52. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Umar b. Muhammad peace be upon him b. Zayd b. Abdullah b. Umar b. Al-Khattab reported on the authority of his father Abdullah b. Umar that Allah's Messenger said, when the inmates of paradise would go to paradise and the inmates of hell would go to hell, death would be called and it would be placed between the paradise and the hell and then slaughtered, and then the announcer would announce, O inmates of paradise, no death. O inmates of hell fire, no death. And it would increase the delight of the inmates of paradise and it would increase the grief of the inmates of hell fire. Sahih Muslim 2850b Reference 53 Hadith 53. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. It is transmitted on the authority of Abu Hurairah that Allah's Messenger said, the molar tooth of an unbeliever or the canine teeth of an unbeliever will be like Uhud, and the thickness of his skin a 3 nights' journey. Sahih Muslim 2851 Reference 53 Hadith 54. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported directly from Allah's Messenger that he said, the distance of the 2 shoulders of the non-believer in hell will be a 3-day journey for a swift rider. Sahih Muslim 2852 Reference 53 Hadith 55. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Haritha b. Wahb reported that he heard Allah's Apostle as saying, may I not inform you about the inmates of paradise? They said, do this, of course. Thereupon Allah's Apostle said, every humble person who is considered to be humble, if he were to adjure in the name of Allah, he would fulfill it. He then said, may I not inform you about the denizens of hellfire? They said, yes. And he said, every haughty, fat and proud person. Sahih Muslim 2853 Reference 53 Hadith 56. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Shuba with the same chain of transmitters but with a slight variation of wording. Sahih Muslim 2853b Reference 53 Hadith 57. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Haritha b. Wahb al-Khuzai reported Allah's Messenger as saying, "May I not inform you about the inmates of paradise?" And then informing about them, said, "Every meek person who is considered to be humble, and if they were to adjure in the name of Allah, Allah would certainly fulfill it. May I not inform you about the inmates of hellfire? They are all proud, mean and haughty." Sahih Muslim 2853. See reference 53 Hadith 58. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, "Many a people with disheveled hair are driven away from the door. But they are so pious, that if they are to swear in the name of Allah, He would definitely fulfill that." Sahih Muslim 2854. Reference 53 Hadith 59. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abdullah b. Zama reported that Allah's Messenger delivered an address and he made a mention of the dromedary and also made a mention of one base person, who cut off its hind legs, and he recited, "When the basest of them broke forth with mischief, xei. 12. When a mischievous person, strong even because of the strength of a family like Abu Zama, broke forth. He then delivered instruction in regard to the women saying, There is amongst you who beats his woman, and in the narration on the authority of Abu Bakr, the words are, He flogs her like a slave girl. And in the narration of Abu Kurayb, the words are, He flogs like a slave and then comforts his bed with the help of that at the end of the day. And he then advised in regard to laughing of people at the breaking of wind and said, One of you laughs at that which you yourself do. Sahih Muslim 2855. Reference 53 Hadith 60. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, I saw Amr b. Luhay b. Kama b. Kindif, brother of Bani Kab, dragging his intestines in fire. Sahih Muslim 2856. A reference 53 Hadith 61. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Said b. Musayyab explained al-Bahira as that animal which is not milked but for the idols. And none amongst the people milks them, and as Saiba as that animal which is let loose for the deities. Nothing is loaded over it, and Ibn Musayyab narrated that Abu Huraira stated that Allah's Messenger said, I saw Amr b. Emir al-Khuzili dragging his intestines in fire, and he was the first who devoted animals to deity. Sahih Muslim 2856b. Reference 53 Hadith 62. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, Two are the types amongst the denizens of hell. The one possessing whips like the tail of an ox, and they flog people with their help. The second one, the women who would be naked in spite of their being dressed, who are seduced to wrong paths, and seduce others with their hair high like humps. These women would not get into paradise, and they would not perceive the odor of paradise, although its fragrance can be perceived from such and such distance, from great distance. Sahih Muslim 2128b. Reference 53 Hadith 63. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, If you survive for a time, you would certainly see people who would have whips in their hands like the tail of an ox. They would get up in the morning under the wrath of Allah, and they would get into the evening with the anger of Allah. Sahih Muslim 2857. Reference 53 Hadith 64. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, If you live for a time, You would certainly see people get up, in the morning, in the wrath of Allah, and getting into the evening under the curse of Allah, and there would be in their hands, whips, like the tail of an ox. Sahih Muslim 2857b reference 53 Hadith 65. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated through 5 different chains of transmitters, and all of them are narrated on the authority of Mustard, brother of Bani Fear, that Allah's Messenger said, "By Allah, this world is so insignificant in comparison to the hereafter that if one of you should dip his finger," and Vanil saying this Yahig pointed with his forefinger, in the ocean, and then he should see as to what has stuck to it. This hadith has been narrated through another chain of transmitters also, but with a slight variation of wording. Sahih Muslim 2858 reference 53 Hadith 66. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Aisha reported that she heard Allah's Messenger as saying, "The people would be assembled on the day of resurrection barefooted, naked and uncircumcised." I said, "Allah's Messenger, will the male and the female be together on the day, and would they be looking at one another?" Upon this Allah's Messenger said, "Aisha, the matter would be too serious for them to look to one another." Sahih Muslim 2859 reference 53 Hadith 67. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Hatim b. Abi Surira with the same chain of transmitters, and there is no mention of the word uncircumcised. Sahih Muslim 2859b reference 53 Hadith 68. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Ibn Abbas reported that he heard Allah's Messenger deliver an address, and he was saying that they would meet Allah barefooted, naked and uncircumcised. Sahih Muslim 2860 reference 53 Hadith 69. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated through other chains of transmitters on the authority of Ibn Abbas, and the words are, "While Allah's Messenger stood up to deliver a sermon, he said, 0 people, Allah would make you assemble barefooted, naked and uncircumcised," and then recited the words of the Quran, "As we created you for the first time, we shall repeat it. It is a promise, binding, upon us. Lo, we are to perform it," and the first person who would be clothed on the day of resurrection would be Hadrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, and, behold, some persons of my ummah would be brought and taken to the left, and I would say, "My Lord, they are my companions," and it would be said, "You do not know what they did after you," and I would say, just as the pious servant, Hadrat Isa, said, "I was a witness regarding them as I remained among them, and thou art a witness over everything. So if thou chastisest them, they are thy servants, and if thou forgivest them, thou art mighty, wise." Version 117-118. Sahih Muslim 2860b reference 53 Hadith 70. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. And it would be said to him, "They constantly turn to their heels since you left them." This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Waqi and Muad, and the words are, "What new things they fabricated." Sahih Muslim 2860b reference 53 Hadith 70. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Apostle as saying, "The people will be assembled in 3 categories. Those desirous of paradise, fearing hell, coming 2 upon the camel, 3 upon the camel, 4 upon the camel, 10 upon the camel, and the rest will be assembled, hellfire being with them when they are at midday, where they would spend the night and where they would spend the morning and where they would spend the evening. Sahih Muslim 2861 Reference 53 Hadith 71. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Ibn Umar reported Allah's apostle as saying, "When the people stand before Allah, the Lord of the worlds, each one of them would stand submerged into perspiration up to half of his ears," and there is no mention of the day in the hadith transmitted on the authority of Ibn Mutani. Sahih Muslim 2862 Reference 53 Hadith 72. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Ibn Umar but with a slight variation of wording. And the words are, one of them would be completely submerged in perspiration up to half of his ears. Sahih Muslim 2862b Reference 53 Hadith 73. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's Messenger as saying, "The perspiration would spread on the day of resurrection upon the earth to the extent of 70 cubits, and it would reach up to their mouths or up to their ears." Thawr is not sure which words he used, mouth or ears. Sahih Muslim 2863 Reference 53 Hadith 74. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Miqdad b. Aswad reported, "I heard Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, on the day of resurrection, the sun would draw so close to the people that their woam be left only a distance of 1 mile. Sulaim b. Emir said, "By Allah, I do not know whether he meant by mile the mile of the material, earth or dn instrument used for applying collyrium to the eye." The Prophet is, however, reported to have said, "The people would be submerged in perspiration according to their deeds, some up to their knees, some up to the waist, and some would have the bridle of perspiration." And, while saying this, Allah's apostle pointed his hand towards his mouth. Sahih Muslim 2864 Reference 53 Hadith 75. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Iyad b. Himar reported that Allah's Messenger, while delivering a sermon one day, said, "Behold, my Lord commanded me that I should teach you which you do not know and which he has taught me today. He has instructed thus, the property which I have conferred upon them is lawful for them. I have created my servants as one having a natural inclination to the worship of Allah, but it is Satan who turns them away from the right religion, and he makes unlawful what has been declared lawful for them, and he commands them to ascribe partnership with me, although he has no justification for that. And verily, Allah looked towards the people of the world and he showed hatred for the Arabs and the non-Arabs, but with the exception of some remnants from the people of the book. And he, further, said, I have sent thee, the Holy Prophet, in order to put you to test and put those to test, through you. And I sent the book to you which cannot be washed away by water, so that you may recite it while in the Sahih Muslim 2865 a reference 53 Hadith 76. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants' state of wakefulness or sleep. Verily, Allah commanded me to burn, kill, the Quraysh. I said, My Lord, they would break my head, like the tearing of bread, and Allah said, You turn them out as they turned you out, you fight against them and we shall help you in this, you should spend and you would be conferred upon. You send an army and I would send an army 5 times greater than that. Fight against those who disobey you along with those who obey you. The inmates of paradise are 3. One who wields authority and is just and fair, one who is truthful and has been endowed with power to do good deeds. And the person who is merciful and kind-hearted towards his relatives and to every pious Muslim, and one who does not stretch his hand in spite of having a large family to support. And he said, the inmates of hell are 5. The weak who lack power to avoid evil, the carefree, who pursue everything irrespective of the fact that it is good or evil, and who do not have any care for their Sahih Muslim 2865, a reference 53, Hadith 76. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants' family or for their wealth. And those dishonest whose greed cannot be concealed even in the case of minor things. And the third, who betray you, morning and evening, in regard to your family and your property. He also made a mention of the miser and the liar and those who are in the habit of abusing people and using obscene and foul language. Abu Ghassan in his narration did not make mention of spend and there would be spent for you. Sahih Muslim 2865, a reference 53, Hadith 76. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Qatada with the same chain of transmitters but with a slight variation of wording. Sahih Muslim 2865b, reference 53, Hadith 77. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Iyad b. Himar that Allah's Messenger gave an address one day. The rest of the hadith is the same. Sahih Muslim 2865 c, reference 53, Hadith 78. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Iyad b. Himar reported Tbat, while Allah's Messenger was delivering an address, he stated that Allah commanded me. The rest of the hadith is the same, and there is an addition in it. Allah revealed to me that we should be humble amongst ourselves and none should show pride upon the others, and it does not behove one to do so, and he also said, there are among you people to follow not caring a bit for their family and property. Qatada said, Abu Abdullah, would this happen? Thereupon he said, yes. By Allah, I found this in the days of ignorance that a person grazed the goat of a tribe and did not find anyone but their slave girl. And he did not spare her, but committed adultery with her. Sahih Muslim 2865d, reference 53, Hadith 79. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Ibn Umar reported Allah's Messenger as saying, when any one of you dies, he is shown his seat in the hereafter, morning and evening. If he is amongst the inmates of paradise, he is shown the seat from amongst the inmates of paradise, and if he is one from amongst the denizens of hell, he is shown the seat from amongst the denizens of hell, and it would be said to him, that is your seat until Allah raises you on the day of resurrection, and sends you to your proper seat. Sahih Muslim 2866, a reference 53, Hadith 80. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Ibn Umar reported that Allah's Apostle said, when a person dies, he is shown his seat morning and evening. If he is one amongst the inmates of paradise, he is shown his seat in paradise, and if he is one amongst the denizens of hellfire, he is shown his seat in the hellfire. Then it is said to him, that is your seat where you would be sent on the day of resurrection. Sahih Muslim 2866b, reference 53, Hadith 81. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri reported, I did not hear this hadith from Allah's Apostle directly, but it was Zayd b. Thabit who narrated it from him. As Allah's Apostle was going along with us towards the dwellings of Bani and Najjar, riding upon his pony. It shied and he was about to fall. He found 4, 5 or 6 graves there. He said, "Who amongst you knows about those lying in the graves?" A person said, "It is I." Thereupon he, the Holy Prophet, said, "In what state did they die?" He said, "They died as polytheists." He said, "These people are passing through the ordeal in the graves. If it were not the reason that you would stop burying your dead in the graves on listening to the torment in the grave which I am listening to, I would have certainly made you hear that." Then turning his face towards us, he said, "Seek refuge with Allah from the torment of hell." They said, "We seek refuge with Allah from the torment of hell." He said, "Seek refuge with Allah from the torment of the grave." They said, "We seek Sahih Muslim 2867 reference 53 Hadith 82. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants refuge with Allah from the torment of the grave. He said, "Seek refuge with Allah from turmoil, its visible and invisible aspects." And they said, "We seek refuge with Allah from turmoil and its visible and invisible aspects." And he said, "Seek refuge with Allah from the turmoil of the Dajjal." And they said, "We seek refuge with Allah from the turmoil of the Dajjal." Sahih Muslim 2867 reference 53 Hadith 82. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Anas reported Allah's apostle as saying, "If you were not to abandon the burying of the dead in the grave, I would have certainly supplicated Allah that he should make you listen the torment of the grave." Sahih Muslim 2868 reference 53 Hadith 83. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Abu Ayyub through some other chains of transmitters. And the words are, Allah's messenger went out after the sun had set and he heard some sound and said, "It is the Jews who are being tormented in their graves." Sahih Muslim 2869 reference 53 Hadith 84. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Anas b. Malik reported Allah's apostle having said, "When the servant is placed in his grave, his companions retrace their steps, and he hears the noise of their footsteps. 2 angels come to him and make him sit and say to him, 'What do you have to say about this person, the Prophet?' If he is a believer, he would say, 'I bear testimony to the fact that he is a servant of Allah and his messenger.' Then it would be said to him, 'Look to your seat in the hellfire, for Allah has substituted the seat of yours with a seat in paradise.' Allah's messenger said, 'He would be shown both the seats.'" Qatada said, "It was mentioned to us that his grave, the grave of a believer, expands to 70 cubits and is full with verdure until the day when they would be resurrected." Sahih Muslim 2870 a reference 53 Hadith 85. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Anas b. Malik reported that Allah's messenger said, "When the dead body is placed in the grave, he listens to the sound of the shoes, as his friends and relatives return after burying him." Sahih Muslim 2870b reference 53 Hadith 86. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Anas b. Malik reported that Allah's apostle said, "When the servant is placed in his grave and his friends retrace their steps." The rest of the hadith is the same as transmitted by Qatada. Sahih Muslim 2870c reference 53 Hadith 87. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Al-Bara b. Azib reported Allah's apostle as saying, this verse, Allah grants steadfastness to those who believe with firm word, was revealed in connection with the torment of the grave. It would be said to him, who is your Lord? And he would say, Allah is my Lord and Muhammad peace be upon him is my apostle, and that is, what is implied, by the words of Allah, the Exalted. Allah keeps steadfast those who believe with firm word in this world and in the hereafter. Sahih Muslim 2871 reference 53 Hadith 88. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants Al-Bara b. Azib reported that this verse, Allah keeps those who believe steadfast with firm word in this world and the hereafter was revealed in connection with the torment of the grave. Sahih Muslim 2871b reference 53 Hadith 89. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants Abu Huraira reported. When the soul of a believer would go out of his body, it would be received by two angels who would take it to the sky. Hamad, one of the narrators in the chain of transmitters, mentioned the sweetness of its odor, and further said, that the dwellers of the sky say, here comes the pious soul from the side of the earth, let there be blessings of Allah upon the body in which it resides. And it is carried, by the angels, to its Lord, the Exalted and Glorious. He would say, take it to its destined end. And if he is a non-believer and as it, the soul, leaves the body, Hamad made a mention of its foul smell and of its being cursed. The dwellers of the sky say, there comes a dirty soul from the side of the earth, and it would be said, take it to its destined end. Abu Huraira reported that Allah's Messenger put a thin cloth which was with him upon his nose while making a mention of the foul smell of the soul of a non-believer. Sahih Muslim 2872 reference 53 Hadith 90. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants Anas b. Malik reported, we were along with Umar between Mecca and Medina that we began to look for the new moon. And I was a man with sharp eyesight, so I could see it, but none except me saw it. I began to say to Umar, don't you see it? But he would not see it. Thereupon Umar said, I would soon be able to see it, when it will shine more brightly. I lay upon bed. He then made a mention of the people of Badr to us and said, Allah's Messenger showed us one day before the actual battle, the place of death of the people participating in the battle of Badr, and he was saying, this would be the place of death of so and so tomorrow, if Allah wills. Umar said, by him who sent him with truth, they did not miss the places of their death, which Allah's Messenger had pointed for them. Then they were all thrown in a well one after another. Allah's Messenger then went to them and said, O, so and so, the son of so and so, O so and so, the son of so and so, have you found correct what Allah and Sahih Muslim 2873 reference 53 Hadith 91. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants His Messenger had promised you. I have, however, found absolutely true what Allah had promised with me. Umar said, Allah's Messenger, how are you talking with the bodies without soul in them? Thereupon he said, you cannot hear more distinctly than their hearing of what I say, but with this exception that they have not power to make any reply. Sahih Muslim 2873 reference 53 Hadith 91. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants Anas b. Malik reported that Allah's Messenger let the dead bodies of the unbelievers who fought in Badr lie unburied for 3 days. He then came to them and sat by their side and called them and said, shocked face, Abu Jahl b. Hisham, O Umayyah b. Caliph, O Utbah b. Rabi'ah, O Shayba b. Rabia, have you not found what your Lord had promised with you to be correct? As for me, I have found the promises of my Lord to be perfectly correct. Umar listened to the words of Allah's apostle and said, Allah's messenger, how do they listen and respond to you? They are dead and their bodies have decayed. Thereupon he, the Holy Prophet, said, By him in whose hand is my life, what I am saying to them, even you cannot hear more distinctly than they, but they lack the power to reply. Then he commanded that they should be buried in the well of Badr. Sahih Muslim 2874 Reference 53 Hadith 92. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abu Talha reported. When it was the day of Badr and Allah's apostle had gained victory over them, the Meccans, he commanded more than 20 persons, and in another hadith these are counted as 24 persons, from the non-believers of the Quraysh to be thrown into the well of Badr. The rest of the hadith is the same. Sahih Muslim 2875 Reference 53 Hadith 93. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Aisha reported that Allah's Messenger said, He who is taken to account on the day of resurrection is in fact put to torment. I said, Has Allah, the Exalted and Glorious, not said this? He will be made subject to an easy reckoning. Iqsiv 8. Thereupon he said, What it implies is not the actual reckoning, but only the presentation of one's deeds to him. He who is thoroughly examined in reckoning is put to torment. Sahih Muslim 2876 a Reference 53 Hadith 94. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Ayyub with the same chain of transmitters. Sahih Muslim 2876b Reference 53 Hadith 95. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Aisha reported Allah's apostle as saying, Everyone who is reckoned thoroughly is undone. I said, Allah's Messenger, has Allah not called reckoning as easy reckoning? Thereupon he said, It implies only presentation of one's deeds to him, but if one is thoroughly examined in reckoning, he in fact is undone. Sahih Muslim 2876 see Reference 53 Hadith 96. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Aisha reported Allah's apostle as saying, He who is examined thoroughly in reckoning is undone. Sahih Muslim 2876d Reference 53 Hadith 97. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Habir reported, I heard Allah's apostle as saying 3 days before his death, None of you should court death but only hoping good from Allah. Sahih Muslim 2877 Reference 53 Hadith 98. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Amash with the same chain of transmitters. Sahih Muslim 2877b Reference 53 Hadith 99. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Habir b. Abdullah al-Ansari reported, I heard Allah's Messenger say 3 days before his death, None of you should die but hoping only good from Allah, the Exalted and Glorious. Sahih Muslim 2877 see Reference 53 Hadith 100. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Habir reported, I heard Allah's apostle as saying, Every servant would be raised, in the same very state, in which he dies. Sahih Muslim 2878 reference 53 Hadith 101. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Amash but with a slight variation of wording. Sahih Muslim 2878b reference 53 Hadith 102. Sahih Muslim. The Book of Paradise, its description, its bounties and its inhabitants. Abdullah b. Umar reported, I heard Allah's Messenger as saying, when Allah intends to chastise a people, He chastises all of them, then they would be raised according to their deeds. Sahih Muslim 2879 reference 53 Hadith 103.